Welcome to Flavor Text, an extension of the Max Level podcast brought to you by Technisport Gaming Chairs. Use offer code LDG to save 10% whenever you make a purchase on a brand new gaming chair, desk, or accessories. Be sure to subscribe to the Max Level podcast on your favorite podcast app of choice to hear a brand new episode every Monday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern. On today's episode of Flavor Text, the crew wonders what the future of E3 might look like, with EA joining the ever-growing roster of companies not doing a press conference this year. Support us by clicking that subscribe button, hit the like, turn notifications on, and drop us a comment down below. So for Flavor Text this week, we have an interesting story that developed over the past week, and I'm joined by Frank and Kyle. They were on the most recent episode of the Max Level podcast. If you haven't listened to that, go check it out. Yeah, there they are.
What's up?
Max Level posts every Monday morning at 5 a.m. Eastern, 2 a.m. Pacific. You can catch brand new episodes every week, and it's a ton of fun. Flavor Text is an extension of that. And what happened over this past week is that EA announced EA Play 2019. They've been doing this since 2017. The last time they were actually physically at E3 was 2016. And starting in 2017 and then last year in 2018, they have their own show the weekend before E3. So it's the same weekend that Microsoft has their E3 press conference, and, you know, Bethesda has theirs, and Devolver Digital has theirs, and
Bethesda has the best.
Bethesda has a press conference, and it's still within the E3 festivities. It's just they're not a part of E3. They pulled out of it. And this year it's taking place from June 7th to June 9th. What they decided to do this year is skip the big press conference at EA Play 2019. So they're not doing that. So we're not going to, have this overarching thing where we get a look at new games, where we get new game announcements. And instead, they said they're going to do multiple live stream events. And people are wondering if that means just like Twitch streams of gameplay, or if it'll be like smaller style things similar to Nintendo Directs, but not exactly the same. Because they did say we would still get fresh new looks at the games they're currently working on, as well as direct updates from the teams themselves. So that could be done through a gameplay style of thing, or it could be through a pre-recorded thing. I have no idea what they're planning to do here, so I want to check that out. But they made no mention of any new game announcements or anything like that. So what I want to discuss here for just a few minutes on Flavor Text this week, with EA now pulling out their press conference from the E3 festivities, Nintendo still committed to doing smaller presences at E3. They only bring a handful of games and they do a Nintendo Direct. And Sony not attending E3 2019 at all this year. They're not even going to be on the show floor, let alone having a press conference. Are we about to see a paradigm shift in terms of how E3 is viewed and handled? What do you think?
EA Sports. We're not in the game.
We're not at E3. What do you think, Frank?
I think so, man. I think it probably will work better for them too. Just a little here, a little there.
I think it will.
There's no need for a full conference. I mean, what do they have to talk about? Apex is already out.
Well, they're working on, we know BioWare is now working on Dragon Age, but we weren't going to see it. It's too early. We would probably see stuff on Anthem at E3 this year. So Dragon Age is still out, I would think. But we know that Respawn, speaking of Apex, is working on Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. And that game is set to come out late this year. So we have to see something on that. And that's got to be one of the things they're showing it gameplay wise. Like they talked about, they were going to have new looks. One of those has to be that.
Yeah, but that's going to be revealed next month at the Star Wars celebration.
No, I know. But we'll have to see something there from that. That'll definitely be at EA Play. That's one of their big highlight titles this fall, besides the usual sports games and whatever else we get. But I think that, and you mentioned you think this will work out better for them. I agree with you. Because EA tends to have one of the more laughable press conferences every year at E3. Their press conferences aren't that exciting. They just show slideshow type stuff, early in-depth look and, wireframe characters on art stuff. It's never anything exciting that EA shows us. It's very much like we get with with Square Enix, at their press conference last year, and even Sony's conference last year wasn't that great either, which is one of the reasons I think they're skipping this year, because they literally have nothing new to show besides what we've seen time and time again. Although Days Gone did go gold, and I'm still cautiously optimistic for that. I want to play it.
It's just crazy what's happening to E3 in general, man. There's going to be no Sony. Nintendo never does anything with them anymore.
No, the Nintendo's there. They just don't really do anything. 2 years ago, they just brought Breath of the Wild. They're willing to take these chances where they maybe only take one game to E3 or a handful of games, and that's it. This year, obviously, I think we'll see Luigi's Mansion at E3. We'll see Animal Crossing. We'll probably see Pokemon Sword and Shield, but
Microsoft's going to be the only
major platform holder, yes, that is going to be there. We know they're having a full conference. Phil Spencer already confirmed they're having a full show, new game announcements, and the introduction of the next generation of Xbox is going to be at E3 this year.
I think that as we've seen time and time again, Nintendo has been the innovator in some form.
Yes, they started this. They started this.
They said, we're not going to do this anymore. And to wonderful reception. Because if you go on YouTube and you type E3 press conference cringe, it is video after video after video of somebody getting up on stage and being like, and now we're going to show you a new game, and it's totally stupid and nobody claps, and the guy looks like an idiot on stage. It's or he says something dumb, or he makes a noise like, who's the guy that ran for president a few years ago and he was like, yeah, and it ruined his entire campaign.
That was Howard Kane.
Dean Cain? No, Dean Cain's the guy that played Superman.
Dean Howard Dean? I don't know. Something Howard like Dean, that. Howard Dean.
At any who played Superman? Dean Cain played Superman. Yes. At any rate, this always happens. It happens over and over and over again. And so Nintendo said, we're not even going to deal with it. We're going to do pre-recorded shows, and Mr. Iwata comes on the screen and Minasan, konnichiwa. And then, hello, my name is Mr. Iwata. And it's perfectly laid out. And even if you don't like the games that are presented, which Nintendo has had questionable ones in the past, it's always presented well. And it's always presented in a way that makes me excited for games that I'm typically not even excited for. And it took a couple of years for other companies to get on board with it, and give it 2 or 3 years, Microsoft won't have a press conference either.
I think this is obviously the start of, the traditional conference going away. Like you mentioned, the cringe. EA's always at the forefront of the cringe, and Ubisoft is always at the forefront of the cringe. They just do some silly things.
I like the direct approach. I even like shout out to what Kind of Funny did last time.
Oh, the Kind of Funny game showcase. Yeah. That was great, dude.
EA could produce something like that.
Yeah. Still have it fun, still have it entertaining. And that also saves a ton of time for us, the press, the people that actually go to these shows to cover them, to talk about them. We no longer have to, take time out of the day to go do that. We can literally just sit there and watch a video. That's all it is. Like, there's no conference you need to attend.
You don't have to be out there apologizing for your loot box disaster or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. There's things you can avoid.
Honestly, let's face it. That's the reason they're not showing up this year.
Loot boxes?
They screwed up last year. They had to apologize to everyone last year at E3. It was a shit show.
Well, everything was at E3 last year. There was only like one good thing last year at E3. E3 was
but Bethesda was great last year at
E3.
Microsoft.
Bethesda wasn't great last year. Your clouded judgment.
I still beg to differ, man. They announced the new Elder Scrolls and Starfield.
They didn't announce anything. They showed a pre-rendered cut screen of a mountain,
of a fucking map.
They didn't show or announce anything.
And then we see a logo for Starfield. Yeah,
that was it. They didn't announce a thing. Bethesda can eat it.
Haters.
If Bethesda would have just ended on Fallout, it would have been bad. So they thought, like, man, we got to do something. We got to get people excited because we know Fallout 76 sucks, and it still sucks. And they tried to, alleviate some of that by announcing games that are 10 years away. We knew the Starfield was coming. We knew Elder Scrolls 6 was coming. They didn't have to say it. We knew they were coming. They should have just ended on Fallout 76 and just laid in the bed they made, dude, with that shit show of a game.
Brian, you mentioned that they usually focus on one game for the course of Nintendo.
Nintendo does, yeah.
Normally focuses on one big game. That's kind of their showcase headliner for E3, and then they'll do a couple little other games.
Yes.
There is no one big game, in my opinion, that has been announced to release this year, end of this year, yet for Nintendo.
Correct. It's a combination of like 3.
Yes. In the next 2 months, we will see some big announcement from Nintendo, which will be their headliner game for E3. We'll get a little bit of info on Luigi's Mansion 3.
Oh, actually, you know what? I disagree. I think Link's Awakening is their big headline game for the fall.
Oh, no way. I don't think so at all.
I do.
A remake of a Game Boy game? No way. We'll get a little bit of info on that. There's something else coming.
I actually think that's going to be it. Don't be surprised if it isn't it.
It's going to be Pokemon. I don't know why you're even.
Well, yes, but Pokemon exists outside of Nintendo. Like Pokemon is its own entity. They're their own thing. That's why they're never in the traditional Nintendo Directs. Pokemon isn't inevitable at E3. Like the Pokemon company will be there with their games, and they exist outside of Nintendo. It's a totally another company. Yes, it's still Nintendo, but it's separate. They have a separate PR company that I found out about. Like everything is separate with them. They're not even the same PR company as Nintendo. So Pokemon will be there. Absolutely 100%. But I think Nintendo themselves will have a big showcase for their Direct. And I do sadly think it's going to be Link's Awakening.
I don't think it is.
I hope you're right.
We already know it's not going to be Metroid.
Correct.
We already know it's not going to be Metroid.
I hope you're right in that it is something else, but I'm not convinced that it will be.
Could be Bayonetta 3.
It could be. Bayonetta 3 is still sometime late this year or early next year. So it is a possibility, but more realistically, I think it's the combination of Luigi's Mansion, Animal Crossing, and Link's Awakening. I think that's like going to be their three things this year. I
think Animal Crossing might come out around that time. I think we might see Animal Crossing in August, September, which would make, I think that making it making it a headline for June.
No.
Yeah, that's
no. Animal Crossing. Frank just keeps every month that it's not announced, Frank just moves his. So by April, Frank will be saying July. Because I think in January you were saying March. So you're always like 2 or 3 months ahead.
I just want to play the damn game already.
I do too. I mean, we're sitting here dying, waiting to play it. But I agree with Kyle. I think, and I've been saying this from the beginning since it was announced, it's a September title. It's a September release. It is. It's the perfect time to release it too, because you get a chance to play it for like a month or so, and then you start having all like the the changes with the festivities with Halloween, and you get Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then you're having the transition to winter and many different things to do.
My birthday's in June, and I want to celebrate my birthday in game to have a nice little present.
Well, you'll get to celebrate you don't need more cake. At least in the game, you won't feel the effects from it.
Why do you gotta be hating, Brian? Cake is
non-stop, boys.
Going back to what Kyle said a little bit ago, I think that in 2 or 3 years, give or take, we're going to see a drastically different E3. And, the companies that choose to be there will still be there. They'll still be taking their games there. You'll still press will still be able to go to an event similar to or reminiscent of E3, if it's not still E3 in general, but it'll be something similar where they can get hands-on access to games and play them at a huge major, trade show. It's just that type of event isn't going away.
It's because E3 sucks now. It's because E3 is open to the public.
Absolutely. It's one of the big reasons. That is one of the big reasons.
Nintendo's big headline game this year.
What is it?
Is Untitled Goose Game.
Ooh, it looks so good too.
It's so good.
It looks so good. I'm excited for that. But yeah, E3 does suck, man. And a lot of things suck. And I think that, we are going to start seeing a shift to the Nintendo Direct style types of things. And even Square Enix last year, yes, they had a stupid video. It was awful, but it was still done in Direct style. But Bethesda did a Direct style last year, not last year, 2 years ago in 2017. They did a Nintendo Direct video. Watch them do it again this year, because they're probably not going to want to come out on stage because they don't have anything else new to announce. They're going to have a Direct. And then keep an eye on this, because E3 is about to change. And I think if it goes in this direction that it's moving, it will be changing for the better, because they're going to be taking out a lot of the unnecessary things, a lot of the cringe, and just getting down to the core. And that's what E3 was always did. It did well back in like the late 90s, early 2000s. It was the core. And if we get back to that, which was a terrible wrestling faction, by the way.
I like the changes. I think they're good changes.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah, I think we'll have a more professional, better looking conference this way.
Yeah, and stay tuned here for Level Down Games. We always have E3 coverage. You can go back and look at our 2017 and 2018 coverage, and looking forward to 2019, because it'll be finally just more than Frank and myself. We have Kyle and we have Sean now for E3 coverage and reactions, as long as we can squeeze you guys in, because, you're not around all the time.
I will be here.
I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun. Thanks for checking out a new episode of Flavor Text. If you enjoyed what you just heard, be sure to click that subscribe button and turn notifications on, leave a like, and drop a comment down below. We'll see you next time.